This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
From Texas, it's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Well, hey, everybody, welcome in.
What I do with my hands is my tie string.
Is it? Well, I mean, tie. You got a tie on there.
Sort of.
Or is it a tay-tay?
It's a tay-tay.
It's a tay-tay.
It's a tay-tay. It's a souvenir, man. I'm going to sell this after the show because I think it's probably worth a lot of money, for crying out loud. Woo! Look at that.
As hard as the tickets were to get, yeah.
Dude, I love Taylor Swift. I mean, it's one of those things to when you talk about a great artist, she does it right, man. She does it right. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Taylor Swift. That's all right. We would play Taylor Swift on the show probably every bumper if we could, if they wouldn't throw us out.
Well, I mean, if they would, a little thing called royalty.
Yeah. Well, she's kind of a renegade, though. She does her own.
Royalties will get you every time.
She does her own thing right there. By the way, sorry to interrupt you, Bobby. Well, welcome, friends. Welcome to the show, Bobby. Finish your thing there, dude. I'm sorry.
We're the original and most popular racing-based show on Monday nights.
Yeah, we are. I know, I get a lot of folks that they reach out and they're like, hey, did you see this show or whatever? I'm like, yeah, I watch every goddamn one of them.
We watch them all.
I check everybody out and I applaud everybody for doing their thing, and that's really great. But it's a good thing. It's really a good thing. And that's the beauty of this. I mean, I think the bottom line is when it comes to podcasts and live shows and whatever it may be, the more that we get, the more exposure that we get to the sport, and that's what's most important, in my opinion.
Well, it gets there, right? I mean, everybody tries to do the best that they think they can for the sport. Sometimes, like having too many super late model series trying to race together. Sometimes there could be too many podcasts out there together, but
that's all good. It is all good.
It
is all good. This is going to be a fun show as we get to go north of the Texas border. John Webb coming up here momentarily, probably in about 10 minutes, and we're going to talk Southern Oklahoma Speedway. One of those things to where, for many of us, Oklahoma is okay, and I really have no problem with Oklahoma, but especially when it comes to good dirt track racing, and that's what they do over there. We'll talk about that. Obviously, already checking in there, my man Rusty, our IndyCar aficionado, and I got to tell you, for everyone that wants to, wants to frown on Texas Motor Speedway, you need to, for one thing, you need to shut your face, because the more you complain about it, one day it's going to be gone. But number two, that was one hell of a weekend that we saw with both races happening at TMS this weekend. That was TMS. That was the old lady right there saying, "Don't put me to bed yet. Don't put me to bed yet, because I ain't done." And that was really good racing.
Yeah, one of the best oval races I've seen of IndyCar in quite some time, on any track surface, whether it be a flat track or an oval track, high bank, low bank, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
That was probably the best race since mid-2015, 2017, right in there when they started having all those wide open pack style racing, if you will, for an IndyCar. I thought the race was great.
I thought it was too.
I thought it was great. I thought the action was great. I thought the drivers did a remotely good job for the most part. I mean, they're not used to running that close together, but last time they ran that close together, the drivers were like, no, we can't do that. And now they're back, and I think that while the crowd, like we talked about before we came in there, the crowd itself was not all that big. It definitely had races like that is what brings people back in droves.
And I got the whole text thing and reading different forums and all this to where the stands look empty. And I'm like, look, I don't watch a race to watch the stands. I mean, if I want to look at the stands, I'll go to the damn race and look at the stands. I don't care about what the stands look like. I mean, to me, here's where I care about the stands is when we get to local racing. When we get to short track racing here in our hood, that's when I care. When our stands look empty, as they do many, many times around short tracks around Texas, that's and around. I mean, Five Flags. I mean, our friends at Pensacola, when they had their opener and with the ARCA thing and everything. I mean, that was not a good night for the stands. So yes, I do look at the stands, but when it comes to when people are beating me up about, hey, it's a great race going on there, like, hey man, look at the stands. I'm like, man, I don't give a shit about stands. I'm watching the racing. And that's where I come back to people, and I'm like, okay, next time you're sitting at the local track, look at the stands. When you're going on and on about how great all the damn racing is, look at those stands, because they are suffering through the same thing that everybody else is, and that's, I mean, don't give me the stands thing. I mean, get off of that. That's stupid. I mean, give me a break. Cut me a break. Crying out loud.
Well, I mean, I think that the problem is that that's the first thing everybody wants to see, because they're trying to look at the negative side first.
That's what everybody goes to.
Negative first.
First and foremost. It's like with the IndyCar race. I mean, how great that race was. And I still saw people after that, even though they had the finish, that I wish they had IndyCar overtime. Right?
I mean, it's been discussed before, but IndyCar doesn't like doing it. It didn't work real well for Formula One when they tried it this weekend.
And that's totally fine. But and that's where you go back to, people are like, well, it should have finished under green. I'm like, but when NASCAR tries that, it's not good. So what's the difference? But anyway, that's before we get into all of our guests and everything, thank you all for checking in. My man Sonny being a part of that. Just a great race weekend around Texas. I mean, we had a double header there with the late models. We may get the winner of that. Maybe checking in at some point. This show is totally by the seat of our pants. Cameron Dinsmore is checking in at 7:15. Hell, I'm getting work calls right now, man. I ain't got time for that. I don't care about any of that right now. But I do want to give, because I reached out to my man H.E. Nauman, and I have to say, with all of that, everything at Cotton Bowl Speedway is one of those tracks to where they I mean, it's very family centric. I mean, they all are, but a lot of Cotton Bowl, I mean, you've got sons and nephews and all of these people that are out there racing and all of that. And there was something that happened this past weekend, and the track made a statement to where they may have missed something and posted the video from Race on Texas and all of that happening right there. But I thought it was really cool that the track made a statement to where they may have missed something and posted the video from Race on Texas and all of that happening right there. But I thought it was really cool that H made a statement there as to what happened. I reached out to H, and he is apparently right now, least of his concerns is any of talking to us. Yep. They're out at a racetrack right now, and I'm not going to be beating him up to do any of that. But the whole thing is, this is where H.E. Nauman is one of those stand-up guys. This is a racer. I've known H.E. long before he was ever married to Marianne, long before he was ever related to any of those folks. And he's always been stand-up. And the fact that he went out of his way to make that post and own that. And that's where I always say, if there's a mistake to be made, own the shit and move forward. And that's what he has done.
Yeah, that's what he did. We don't see a lot of times where that happens. But I thought that the track put out the statement there last night, and then H put out his own statement today.
Yep.
You're going to get that when you have a racing family that runs a racing track. It's going to happen where you're going to have members of the said racing family racing at the facility. It's not unique to Cotton Bowl. It happens all over the country when you have a family-run racetrack like that, or racing family-run racetrack. And so, I mean, is it an unfortunate circumstance? Yeah. Of course it is, but I also feel like is it an isolated type of circumstance? I think so. all the times that I've been there, where we get lucky enough to be, when we're in the tower announcing, we get to work side by side with H, because there's times that H will look at us, say, well, how did you call it? What did you just see? Mm-hmm. And, and he takes the community vote on what happens, takes the majority of the calls, and then, he takes the input, because, one guy can't see everything.
Yeah.
If he's looking back in the middle of the pack and stuff. But, unfortunate that it happened, but I think the track's owning it. It's better to do it now and get it out of the way than wait for 2 weeks for it to fire up, right there and get back into it. So
yeah, and the thing is, I've talked to H, several times that I've been out there working, been able to call shows out there, and what H does when he's out there working on these shows, it's a matter of he's just watching the race. He's like, okay, in this instance or whatever, car 32, whatever it is, he is not thinking about who's driving it. He's just watching the race. And I can tell you this, and maybe this is something that Cotton Bowl should work on, especially with being that they have, the press box and everything that they have there. I think that it would be a good idea for them to separate the race director, the announcers. There's a lot of people in that room, and there's a
tiny room.
There's a lot of stuff happening, and I can tell you that from doing stuff at different places, when you isolate the race director in their one spot, that tends to help a little bit. But that's a lot of traffic in there. That's a lot of noise. That's a lot of people talking. You've got an announcer in that case. Milton's over there running his mouth, making all this noise.
In a good way. In a good way.
I mean that in a flattering way, but that's one thing that I would suggest. Because I can tell you at Mobile this weekend, I typically would call races from my perch outside, like we do at tracks around here. And the whole thing is, they put me inside the booth this weekend for the TV coverage, and it was like, okay, this is weird to me. There's a lot of people in here, but nobody seemed to really be bothered by any of that noise. I don't know. I would suggest that's a thing. And Milton checks in, and again, Milton, that's not a slight at you. That is only saying that there's a lot of shit that's going on in that room. And for HE, it's a lot. Because we get a lot of HE's feed over the broadcast, which I think is great. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, and unfortunately, like I said, the track owned it, trying to move on. They've addressed it, and that's good. It's time to just put it and nip it in the bud and just move on to the next race they got out there.
Yep, own it and move on, and that's what Cotton Bowl has done. And Milton, you are the man, my friend. Glad you got the Buc-ee's done. Take some time off, dude. You got a couple of weeks off, so take that time, and thanks for jumping back in and being a race announcer and doing what you do so well.